Assalamualaikum, welcome to the Beta program, and I am your host Tariq Khan. Viewers, there is no doubt India has engaged in every kind of war crime and has an evident history of breaking Geneva Conventions and violating human rights in Indian occupied Kashmir. Yet there has been no criticism, no condemnation from civilized international community throughout in its post-colonial history. Following the abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, which is a Kashmir status Indian constitution, and from the perspectives of international law, Geneva Conventions, international agreements, UN Charter, and UN resolution, and other human rights laws, Indian occupation of Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and its annexation or its converting it into Indian Union is illegal and is a blatant violation of international law and UN resolutions, and is a willful violation of international treaties. So, viewers, the occupied state of Jammu and Kashmir has been a war zone with an overwhelming military presence of over 9 lakh Indian troops, and the people of the state are undergoing massive human rights violations since it imposed curfew and lockdown in Indian occupied Kashmir. Everybody knows that India is a signatory state of Geneva Conventions of 1947-49, and it is bound to follow and observe the convention in its essence. Occupied Jammu and Kashmir is an international dispute with dozens of UN resolutions and is demanding its solution through a free and fair plebiscites. So today we'll analyze, explore, and discuss how India is violating and Geneva Convention and its important articles, and how India has been dealing and using war crimes and violating human rights in Indian occupied Kashmir. So today, Advocate Rehana Ali has joined us from UK. You are Information Secretary of Tariq Kashmir, UK. You are also a host of live program Live with Rehana Ali, and you have always used the phrase that under the UN Security Council resolution, it is a violation to make protected persons or Kashmiri persons as their political prisoners till the free and fair plebiscite. So, Ms. Rana, thank you so much for joining the Beta program, and you are most welcome.
Assalamu alaikum. It's actually very nice of you to invite me to your show today.
Advocate Rehana, would you please brief us why Geneva Conventions of United Nations was established, and what does it say about the protected persons or Kashmiris in the disputed states such as Kashmir? How would you analyze?
Okay, I would say that Geneva Convention is, first of all, I would like to talk about United Nations. United Nations was established after the Second World War, which started on the 1st of September 1939 and it ended on the 2nd of September 1945. So after the war ended, it was much needed that there should be atmosphere where nations and countries can work together for the progress, because we all understand that when a war takes place, there's a lot of destruction which takes place, especially when there's a world war. The world actually ends up in poverty, disease, and people are not able to eat, study, or live like a normal person. So they decided to establish, enact laws and make clauses that will help the benefit of the human race. So they decided to actually make Geneva Convention. So Geneva Convention were actually enacted to actually have the human race to actually have a better way of life. Like, for example, United Nations decided that through these Geneva Conventions, there's going to be more mutual understanding, respect among different nations and countries, and there's going to be some laws, and there's actually going to be some clauses which are going to be binding between different nations to actually make sure that humanity, like human rights, are going to be respected. Basically, protected person. Now, protected person means that the people who are protected under the Geneva Conventions. Now, under Geneva Conventions, there are different people who are protected. protected. There are people who are in the army, they are protected. Like for example, if a army is defeated by a different army, so they actually become under the army who has actually defeated them. So they have rights under the Geneva Convention, how you treat the enemy army. And then we actually have rights of civilians, like how the different armies can treat civilians. And then the third protected person are going to be people from a disputed state like Jammu and Kashmir. So people who live in Jammu Kashmir, they are living in a state of war because it's a disputed state between India and Pakistan. And whenever a war happens, whenever war takes place, the civilians are actually suffering from actually both sides. This is what it means by a protected person.
Ms. Rehana, is India violating Geneva Conventions articles, especially the Article 17? How would you analyze?
Yes, I would say that India is very much at the moment of violation articles from Geneva's Convention, and this has been going on from a long time. And it's a very sad, like state of affairs because India has signed the Geneva Conventions, that is going to abide by the Geneva Conventions, which are under the United Nations, and is going to make sure that that human right, human life as human rights, are going to be respected. Now, going to Article 17. Now, there are two Article 17s which India is violating. First is Article 17, is paragraph 3. Now, under that article, any person who is within custody, who is within prison, and something happens to that person, or for example, a death sentence, if they die, their remains or their body need to be returned to their family or people who demand it. Now, what India has been doing, that India has actually given death sentence to some of our Kashmiri leaders in the past, like Maqbool Bar Shahid, and we know Afzal Guru Shahid as well. Now, till today, it's been more than 38 years that they have not returned the remains. So the families and the Kashmiris from both sides have been demanding that we need their remains. So what they did is that they actually buried the remains within the prison. They were actually located at that time, which I think is most probably Tahar jail. So this is a huge violation of not only Geneva Convention, it's a violation of human rights. And the other Article 17, is actually Fourth Geneva Convention, Article 17. Now, Article 17 is actually mainly for women. In this article, it says that women are going to be protected from any kind of insult. Their honor is actually going to be in all circumstances respected. So no woman can be raped or can be forced to actually go into prostitution without her will. But what we see in India at the moment is that India is actually violating this article, because in Kashmir we hear a lot of rapes happening, a lot of insult, and many women are dishonored. And at the same time, like I've been hearing, even prostitution has started over there within the army. So the army is actually forcing the women of Kashmir to actually go into prostitution. They are making centers like that, like spa centers and massage centers, where they're demanding Kashmiri women to work. And we all know that what happens in those centers.
Under any circumstances, can India occupy any disputed state under its agreements with United Nations? And how would you explain the Article 27? What is that? What is Article 27?
First of all, India has no right. No state in this world has a right to occupy any other state. It only happens when a war takes place. Now, with Kashmir, there hasn't been any war. The only problem with Kashmir is that Kashmir waits plebiscite. So Kashmiris have been waiting for nearly 75 years. It's going to be 75 years on the 27th of October this year, that they've been waiting for plebiscite. So India has no right on Kashmir. Even Pakistan has no right on Kashmir, because the Kashmiris need to go for a plebiscite, which India needs to arrange, because there's three conditions under the United Nations Security Council Resolution 47. So the three conditions: first condition is with Pakistan, and the two conditions are with actually India. And India till today hasn't actually done anything about the two conditions on its side, and because of that, the reason we haven't had plebiscite. Now, actually going to Article 32, Article 27. So Article 27 means that it's actually for people who are actually a protected person, like again, people who live under the third condition, which is a disputed state. So Article 27 says that in all circumstances, India has to actually the administrators, like India and Pakistan both, they need to actually respect the people who are living there. They need to respect their honor. They need to respect their family life, and they have to respect their religion, their customs, their manners in all circumstances. So under any circumstances, they can't say or they can't violate any international law or anything happening within the state, which has been happening since the state was established. And we understand that in Kashmir, the majority is Muslim, and then we have like Hindu, Sikhs, and Christians and other people as well. So India has no right to actually impose laws there or violate any kind of religious activities happening there or family lives. And family life means that what they're doing at the moment, we know half widows and the concept of half orphans. So what India is doing is violating by taking away men and taking away children, and at the same time, like detaining women as well, rape, torture, and the laws is as applied there. Like we all know that India has some draconian laws which have been applied in Kashmir, like Afsafa law, which is called Armed Forces Special Powers Act since 1990, and then India has PSA, like Special Powers Act in 1978, and then the third law, which is quite popular at the moment, is UPA, which is called Unlawful Activities Provision Act. So this was enacted in 1967, but India has actually implemented it, updated it. So, and it was updated in 2019 when India legally took over Kashmir. So it's using these three laws to actually violate human rights. And the main law which is using is Afsafa. And Afsafa has two more names. It's called law of rape, and the other name it is license to kill. So these two laws, like rape law and license to kill, is actually used over there to actually silence the Kashmiris when they're asking for plebiscite.
Ms. Rehana, how do you view, what do you say, is India providing any medical assistance to arrested political or activist leaders such as Asian Jarabi, Yasin Malak, and Shabir Shah? Are they getting any medical treatment or any assistance in their prisons? And how would you explain Article 30?
It's a very bad state that they're actually living in at the moment. First of all, freedom fighters have been put in with criminals, and the criminal and the biggest jail in India, which is for special criminals, like not special criminals, I would say dangerous criminals, is the hard jail. So they have put all the freedom fighters into the hard jail because under international law, no laws can be applied into the state of Jammu and Kashmir because it's a disputed state and it's like protected people like living there because they're asking for freedom. So India is actually taking them out of a state, which is also a violation of like international laws, and putting them into the hard jail, which is a part of India in Delhi, and that jail has all criminals there. And what India is doing, that our freedom fighters are not getting any medical assistance. And we all know that some of our freedom fighters in the past have even been actually, we will not say that they passed away, we will call them custodial murder, like Ashraf Sarai Shaheed. So he was actually was denied medication, as his family says, and that's the reason why he passed away. And India gave it the name of COVID, like they said that he passed away under the COVID symptoms, which is a lie. At the moment, what we hear is that like Shabir Shah is actually in a very bad condition. He's very ill, at the moment, and he's been denied medical assistance as well. And in the past, we actually heard that Yasin Malik and Asa Indarabi and some other Kashmiri leaders as well, like they have not been in a good state. But this is the way how they are dealing with this matter by actually denying them medical assistance, which is a violation of Article 30, which falls under Geneva Convention. So under this article, India is responsible to take care of their welfare and to take care of the medication, like medical assistance if they need. So I think that we need to actually put pressure on India that they should stop this jurisdictional killing and giving it a name of COVID and some other names, and they should give them the medical assistance under humanitarian grounds.
Advocate Rana, how would you analyze that? What kind of punishments are available on violating Geneva Conventions and its important articles, and how would you explain the Article 32?
Okay, first of all, I would like to start off by saying is that Indian laws are not binding with the international laws, especially with Geneva Convention, and it's not even binding with the United Nations obligations. So these laws are actually violating international laws. They are violating Geneva Convention. They are violating the Declaration of Human Rights, and not only that, they even violating India's own constitution, like Indian Constitution 1950. So we can see that India is violating a lot of laws and its own constitution. So a country which is violating its own constitution, I don't think they should be even called a state, because that only shows that India has a law and order issues. Now, going back to the question that you were actually asking me, that when they are violating Geneva Convention, what is the available punishment? So the available punishment is actually trade sanction. So I would request the world that they need to get together and they need to raise their voices, and we need to have have a trade sanction on India. And I would also add on that maybe we should add on a arms sanction on India as well, because it's using the arms to silence the innocent Kashmiris from 7 decades. And this is a very serious matter, because this matter is the longest and the oldest conflict in the world after Palestine. So this matter needs to be dealt. And going back to Article 32. So Article 32 is violating because it's not protecting Kashmiris under the administration. So under India and Pakistan are actually made administrators to actually take care of the Kashmiris because it's a disputed state. But India has changed its role from administrator to occupation. And why it's becoming occupier? Because Kashmiris are asking for a plebiscite. So India doesn't want to give plebiscite. And unfortunately, India is the country which ran to United Nations, approached the United Nations first by saying to them that Kashmir is a disputed state and we need to actually arrange something so this issue can be dealt with. So United Nations laid down 18 United Nations Security Council resolutions to make sure that the people of Kashmir are safe and a safe and fair plebiscite takes place. But then India denies the plebiscite and the first thing how India denied the plebiscite and disrespected the United Nations Security Council resolution, because it made an agreement called Shimla Agreement 1972. So there was a reason of making that agreement, because he wanted to make it a bilateral issue so the world can't interfere. Before this agreement, anybody could actually stand up and ask India or Pakistan any questions about the Kashmiris, and the Kashmiris and United Nations could actually ask them as well. So making this contract was to actually exclude the world, exclude United Nations, and even exclude the Kashmiris. So it can be a bilateral issue. And they called the ceasefire line, because there was a name at that time called United Nations Monitor Ceasefire Line. So they changed the actual name into line of control. So the reason was to actually make it an international border with time. So if they can't take over the whole Kashmir, like Azad Kashmir as well, at least they can build a border and they can keep the Kashmir what they have. So their tensions were not right from day one. And this is why they actually turned their role from administrator into an occupier, and they made this law. And I would like to request everybody that because they violated the Shimla Agreement, and Pakistan had to do this agreement because Pakistan was put under duress. So I would appeal to everybody, request everybody that we need to go back to the terms of ceasefire line. So we should stop calling it a line of control. By saying line of control, we are strengthening the Indian narrative of making it an international border so India can take over whatever it has. So we need to say ceasefire line, and ceasefire line means that people from both sides, which are citizens of Kashmir, which are Kashmiris, they can cross over whenever they like to see their families or for any other matter. But the army, which is based over there, is only there for protection of them under the United Nations Security Council resolution till the plebiscite doesn't take place.
Ms. Rana, how do you view Pakistan's role in highlighting and resolving Kashmir issue so far, and how would you give any kind of message and conclude all these discussions that we have done so far?
Okay, I would like to conclude by saying that, we all know that Pakistan has played a very active role in the last couple of years, and we also know that the ex Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, even approached United Nations, and he gave a very good speech. And at the same time, after a few, I think. A few months, I think a year or months, he also actually tried to present. He also asked the United Nations to pass one more security resolution, which will be the 19th security resolution for the benefits of the Kashmiris and for the safety of the Kashmiris, which was really good. And we also see that the previous government also actually had a condition with India that they will not have any kind of relationship with India, like especially like trade relationship with India, till India doesn't come to the table. It doesn't talk to Pakistan, and they don't actually decide how to take this matter further until India doesn't actually go back to Article 370 and 35A. These are the articles that which India revoked on the 5th of August 2019. So Pakistan actually does say to India that they need to make sure that these articles are reinstalled again for the benefit of the Kashmiri, and a quick plebiscite should happen. So I would just say that at the moment, like, Pakistan should actually pressurize India for a plebiscite, because I do remember reading that India has actually stated this in the past, that when a plebiscite happens, that's the time when Article 370 and 35A will be removed. So by removing it, India is actually giving us a reason that now a plebiscite should be taking place, and it's the right time. And one thing more I would say about Pakistan, that Pakistan has tried its best to stand by Kashmiris and has tried to gather the world. It has stayed within the framework of the United Nations Security Council resolutions, and has been speaking to the world nations to make sure that the Kashmiris are being listened to and they are heard, and Kashmir has a quick resolution for this ongoing matter from the 7 decades. Now, one thing I would like to add on for Pakistan government and Azad Kashmir government, I would say, because I live in England and I'm working with Tariq Kashmir UK, and we do have our conferences with the parliamentarians here. Now, one issue that I've been hearing, that whenever there is a Kashmir debate going on, I hear the British parliamentarians saying these words again and again, that Kashmir is a bilateral issue between India and Pakistan under the Shimla Agreement 1972. So I would like the government of Pakistan and the government of Azad Kashmir to declare that this agreement does not it's not valid anymore, because it's been violated on the 5th of August 2019, when India illegally took over Kashmir, and it demanded Pakistan to actually hand over Azad Kashmir to them, as well as they are that Kashmir is a part of India and is not a part of Pakistan, and it was given to them by the Maharaja in 1947. So I would humbly request the governments again and again, and I've said this a few times before, that we need to make sure that the violation what India has done has to be highlighted, and the world needs to know that the Shimla Contract 1972 is invalid. It is not valid anymore. So there's no kind of bilateral talks left at the moment. The world needs to intervene intervene, and it has gone back to what it used to be through the United Nations resolutions, where the world, Kashmiris, Pakistan, and India can actually all actually sit on the table and talk about it. It's very important to involve the Kashmiris as well, so they can be on the table when Pakistan actually talks to Kashmir, so this matter can have a peaceful resolution. And I'm very sure that Pakistan will continue to work for the benefit of Kashmir, because Pakistanis and Kashmiris, they are like brothers. And as we hear, the Sayyid Ali Gilani Shaheed used to say, "Hum Pakistani hai, Pakistan hamara hai," and we carry on with this legacy. Thank you.
Advocate Rehana Ali, thank you so much for sharing your valuable thoughts and analysis on the India's violation of Geneva Convention and its important articles and violation of human rights in Indian occupied Kashmir. Thank you so much for your time.
You're always welcome, and it was a pleasure to actually become a part of your program and get a chance to actually pass on the information to the world, to pass them awareness about the Geneva Convention and about the violations which are taking place in Indian occupied Kashmir on daily basis. Thank you for myself, and Allah Hafiz to you and the audience, and thank you for listening to me.